Hey, what's up guys, Chris Jr. here for Kriscoart Productions. I have to apologize, I'm actually pretty sick right now, as you can tell by the sound of my voice. Hopefully we'll be able to pull through to the end, and you guys can deal with my voice being really stuffed and gross. And yeah, alright, let's get started by creating a new composition. Mine's going to be 1920 by 810, gives it a nice stretch anamorphic look. 24 frames per second. I'm going to make mine 30 seconds long. Yours can be the same length as your song, or whatever the case is for you. I'm going to click OK, and we have our new composition. Oh god, I sound terrible. Okay, let's import our song. Mine is going to be just a remix I did to the original Godzilla soundtrack. Let's drop that in, and I'm going to hit LL on my keyboard, and this is going to expand our waveform for this. And by the way, this tutorial is the last tutorial of a series of 3 tutorials, I believe, that I did on audio in After Effects. Specifically, making your track or audio track in After Effects do certain things, such as an animation or a waveform, like an audio visualizer for your song. And this time, for this tutorial, we're actually going to be looking at how to make different parameters sync with the beat of your track. So really interesting stuff, and I can't wait to show you guys how to do that. So let's find a good spot in our track where there's like a build up and a drop. So around here should be good. Let's preview that. I'm gonna hit Control and the period key on my keyboard. Alright, so one of the first steps that we're going to do is I'm going to go under the effects and presets here. I'm going to type in bass. I'm going to drag this effect onto my audio layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the bass and decrease the treble, because I'm all about that bass, no treble. Alright, sorry, I told you I'm sick. There's probably going to be more bad jokes like that along the way, so just bear with me. Alright, so let's preview this real quick. It sounds pretty muffled, but not muffled enough, so I'm actually going to hit Command D on my keyboard and duplicate this bass and treble effect. And let me preview this again. It sounds much more muffled. The reason why we're doing this is because we want the bassier part of the track to really stand out. We want to really separate that kick from the rest of that track, and it'll make a lot of sense once you see the actual keyframes from this. So to do that, let's right click on the audio layer, go to Keyframe Assistant, and convert audio to keyframes. And this creates a new null object called Audio Amplitude. If I select that null object and I hit U on my keyboard, you can see all those keyframes that I'm talking about. Now you can go ahead and delete the left channel and the right channel. We won't really be using that, so it just takes up extra space that we don't really need. So let's just keep both channels, and we have a whole set of keyframes that pretty much match up with our waveform information here. Alright, so in order for this effect to really work, we need to take this one step further. So I'm going to alt click on the stopwatch for the slider control here, and we're going to start working in some expressions into this. Now don't worry, it's not going to be anything too complicated. It's just going to be some really basic math, and they're actually pretty useful, and they can come in handy in the future. So I'm going to delete this expression, and I'm actually going to type in linear parentheses value, and in order to complete this, I'm just going to put comma 0 comma 0 comma 0 comma 0 parentheses. We don't know what to replace those zeros with yet, because we need to go in our graph editor view to find that out. So what we're doing here is all the keyframes that are attached to this null object. So essentially we're in a weird way seeing the waveform of our audio track just in a matter of keyframes. So if I'm doing this right, and if I'm seeing this correctly, this is the build-up, and then you can see where it says fear and destroy here, and then the drop occurs over here. So just to make sure that that's what it's doing, let's preview this real quick. Alright, right on the money. So this is our drop. We're going to be mainly focusing on this, and one of the first things that we want to notice is these spikes, these predominant spikes over here are kicks, which is why we we created the keyframes from our audio track only after we increased the bass and decreased the treble in our song. So that's what I meant by separating the kicks out of the rest of the song. So it's just going to make things a lot easier for us. So the next step to do is take a look at these keyframes and how many units up they go. So we want, let's see, anything below a 50, let's say, to be 0, so to not affect anything. But anything above a 50, which is where our kicks are actually happening, we actually want it to do something. So let's go back to our zeros down here, and we want to say, so the first parameter is 50. So anything above a 50, we want it to 0. This is what this 0 over here is going to do. Then anything above, let's say, a 55, we actually want that to be 100. So to recap again, anything that's a 50 is going to be considered, a 50 or below, excuse me, is going to be considered 0. Anything above a 55 is just going to be considered 100. So let's click away and let's re-click on our slider to see if this works. Take a look at this red number over here and notice what happens when I go over each spike. Boom, 100, then it goes back to 0, then it goes back to 100 for the other kick, then it goes back to 0, 100, and so forth. So it's working. We're not seeing anything happening in our composition panel here because we haven't told After Effects to do anything yet. But right now, everything is set into place for things to work. So all you need to do is just find a parameter that you want to sync with the beat, and the rest of the work is pretty much already done. So just to see this in action, let's create a new solid, make it something bright. I'm just going to make mine yellow, and a quick and easy example to see that this is working is if I hit T on my keyboard, bring up the opacity, and also keep this open over here. Let's all click on the opacity, and let's use this this expression pick whip. That's what it's called. I always call it pick whip. Expressions pick whip, and select the slider values over here, so you can see that this new expression is formed from that. And as I click away, it's gonna disappear, but it's not really disappearing. It's actually the opacity went down to 0, and it's waiting for a kick to happen. Boom, for it to flash. So let me ramp preview this to show you guys what it's doing and to see if it's actually working.
Kill and destroy.
Alright, so pretty cool stuff. Essentially that is pretty much the effect. Now you can literally link any parameter in After Effects to the slider control, and that parameter is going to be directly affected by the kick of the song. So one more example just to prove what I just said is, let's create a new solid, make it blue, just to tell it apart from every other solid that we created. We can name this OF for optical flares. Go under Effect, Video Copilot, Optical Flares. This is a great plugin, by the way, and check out videocopilot.net. It's just an awesome source for knowledge and for awesome plugins too. So, alright, now let's all click on the brightness. So it's gonna pop up over here, and gonna use the same expressions pick whip and go down to the same slider control. So again, you're gonna see it disappear, but it's only waiting for a kick to occur for it to appear again. Alright, so now as I scrub through this, you can see the same basic concept is happening. The flare is flashing to the beat of the kick. But let's say this flare is maybe a little bit too dim for our taste. We want to make the effect even more extreme. So whenever the kick happens, we want that flare to be really, really bright. There's a couple ways of doing this. The first way is to expand our solid with our optical flares effect applied to it. And let's select the brightness. This is going to bring up its expression. Remember, we link this to our slider control over here. And what we can do is at the very end of this expression, just type in ×2. So as I click away and it has time to refresh itself, you're going to notice this number changed from 100 to 200. There we go. So now the flare is much brighter. It's twice as bright. So what we did with that multiplication is pretty much whatever information is being fed into the brightness, we're multiplying that times 2. So in this specific case, that information was 100 because the kick is happening right now. So in this expression, that value gets changed to 100, gets fed into the brightness with this line right here, and then that 100 is multiplied times 2, so it's 200. So that's pretty much what we did. Not sure if that made any sense or if I'm talking in circles here, but yeah, hopefully you guys got that. And just like I multiplied, I can divide, I can add a certain number, and obviously multiplying is going to make it brighter, it's going to make the effect more extreme, I should say, and dividing is going to make it not so extreme. So it's actually going to dim the flare if I divide by any number. Alright, so now that that is out of the way, let's look at the other way of doing this. And it's very simple. Just go back to your slider so that you can reveal this expression, and you can just do times 2 on here as well. And as I click away, this flare is going to be even brighter because it's now being multiplied times 2 over here, and that information, so the result of that equation is going to be input into our brightness parameter here, and then that is being multiplied times 2 again, so that's why now that's 400. So hopefully with that made a little bit more sense, or I might have confused you even more, but it's good to know both ways of doing it, because this way you're pretty much affecting I guess your master effect, we can call it. So any other parameter attached to the slider is going to be multiplied times 2, versus doing it this way, you're only multiplying the effect times 2 for this parameter specifically. So in this case, the brightness. Hopefully I didn't make that sound too confusing, but it's pretty much how you do it, and you have full control over how extreme the effect is. So that's really good. Let's bring this back to normal. Also, something I forgot to do, go back to your track over here. Go ahead and delete these bass and treble effects. We don't really need them anymore, and it would make your song sound pretty muffled. So it's important to delete those once your null object with your keyframes is created. Alright, so essentially that's how the effect works. But at this point you should pretty much have a pretty good understanding on how to animate any parameter to this slider control. So I'm going to do one more example just because it's a little bit different from these other 2 examples that I already did. So I'm going to create a new solid, make this red, and name it alright, and name this pump. So what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be controlling the scale of the solid to go with the beat of the kick. This is really cool, if you're doing a music video or anything else and you have something really upbeat, then you can have the video just pump to the beat of the kick. So to do that, let's expand scale by hitting S on our keyboard with the layer selected. And let's do the usual. I'll click on the stopwatch, grab the expressions pick whip, and link it to the slider. If I scrub through this, you're going to see it pretty much do exactly what our first example did, which is just flash to the beat of the kick, which is no good. The reason why it's doing that is if I select the solid, you can see that it's going from 0, and take a look at this slider over here, all the way up to 100, and back to 0. Now we don't really want it to do that. We want it to start at 100 because we want our footage to be seen all the time, and we want it to scale up from that point on. So there's a very easy way to fix this issue. If I select scale over here, you're going to see this expression down here. Let's make some room. There we go. Alright, so we really need to break this expression down and understand it in order for us to fix this issue. So this is our variable here called temp, and you can change this to anything. We can name it pump, but then of course you have to change it down here too. Pump. So as you can see, that changes nothing. We didn't really change anything. Alright, so now that we renamed this variable to be pump, what pump actually is are these two numbers over here, and as you can tell, they're matching this slider control over here. So that's what pump is, and in order for us to start at 100, what we need to do is simply add 100 to each one. So now if I select a solid, you can see that it's quite larger now because we added 100. So now it's at 200. But now when we go to 0, it's actually at 100. The reason why we couldn't just multiply this times 2 is because obviously 0 times 2 is still 0. So we needed to add 100 units to this so that it starts at 100 and it increases to 200. Now this is pretty extreme. I mean, if you have footage doing that, it's zooming in a little bit too much. But do not worry, like I said before, we have full control over this this effect and how extreme it is. So to fix that, let's go back to scale, and there's just one simple thing that we have to do to this expression to make it work. This very first line over here, we're just going to divide that by 4. If I click away, you can see that whenever the kick is happening, which is happening right now, the effect on the scale of this solid is a lot less extreme. So let me go frame by frame here. So we're at 100 right now, no kick is happening, then let's keep going, keep going, keep going. Boom, there's a kick right here. It scales up to 125 and then it goes back to 100. Alright, so to make sense of what we just did, let's go back to scale and let's take a look at the expression over here. Pretty much what we told After Effects to do is whatever number is being fed into our scale by the slider control over here gets divided by 4. Then after that, we still add 100 units to whatever that number is. So whenever the kick isn't happening, we have 0 over here. That 0 gets divided by 4, and then after that, 100 units are still added to that number, which is why we're still at 100 when the kick isn't happening in our song. Then when the kick does happen, so I'm going to go frame by frame, and there we go. Here's a kick. Now this value is at 100. This 100 gets divided by 4, which is 25, and then 100 units are added to that number, which is why we are now getting 125% in our scale parameter over here. Not sure if that confused you guys. I probably made it sound confusing, but it's really, really simple. And the more you look at expressions, the easier they will appear to you. But anyways, guys, that is it for this tutorial. If you did enjoy it, please hit that like button. And if this is your first time on my channel, please hit subscribe. I'm usually not this sick. Hope that wasn't too distracting throughout this tutorial. But anyways, my name is Chris Drini for Kriscoart Productions, and I will see you next time.